Hello, and welcome to the second edition of Keeping It Reel for the 2015 to the 2016 school year. I am your host, Ignacio Lopez, and in this edition of Keeping It Reel, we will be discussing about Think Together, more electives, lunch activities for girls, field trips, and lastly, dress code. Well, let's get started, shall we? Think Together. How much do we really know about it? We know that Think Together happens after school, but what really happens in Think Together? Is it fun? Is it the most amazing thing in the world? Well, here is Jacob Sanchez with more information about Think Together.
Think Together means teaching, helping, inspiring, and nurturing kids. Think Together was actually created because of several gang shootings in Costa Mesa and the Shalimar area. Randy Barth read about these gang shootings, and the mothers gathered city officials, church leaders, and police officers and made a program where kids can study and be safe. The program expanded and is now at our school called Think Together. Here's Mr. Kevin, the program leader at our school, to tell us more.
Think Together to me means fun, safe place for the students to hang out. We kind of provide an atmosphere where students that usually would not hang out with each other in a normal school day, kind of put them in a setting where they kind of have to, but they do still get good amount out of it. They do interact with each other, they talk with each other, they play sports. So they kind of build like this camaraderie that they don't get when they're in school, because either they're in 7th grades and they're 8th grades, or they just have a different group of friends. But in Think Together, all the students kind of get along. They all have, no one really is in a clique, but everyone's just in one big group. So it's just a good way for students to kind of have fun and just meet new people and just learn how to talk to people that they usually wouldn't talk to, experience socially. It's a great way for the students to develop in that aspect, and which will also ultimately help them in the future, and especially in college and in the workforce. So Think Together is just a great place for fun and just where students can kind of...
Here are some people that have gone to Think Together and now have careers. American Air is the first in her family to attend and graduate college, credits Think Together for her focus on higher education. She is now a morning producer for NBC's affiliate program KCRA3 in Sacramento. Another Think Together graduate, Paulo Leon, from the streets to USC architecture degree. Paulo Leon is now a Think Together alum and a new member of the board of directors.
Think Together, I personally really believe that Think Together does help our students succeed, especially in high school and in college. Every week we offer some sort of enrichment program. So currently we finished up our language arts and our math component. So especially with those, we're actually trying to target common core areas. So we're trying to teach students how to read critically and also come up with questions so that they can debate with each other, maybe do some discussions on maybe some controversial topics. For the math, we also teach students how to read the problems multiple times, and how to kind of eliminate unnecessary information along those lines for Common Core, so that they can be successful in Common Core. And then we also offer youth development. So we offer students a chance to be in leadership, where they can either help me, the site coordinator, or our 2 other program leaders as junior program leaders, so they can kind of get that leadership role that they might not get at school or outside of the school setting. So we do offer many of those components, academic and character development.
Out of these efforts, the Shalimar Learning Center and the Shalimar Teen Center were born. Since 1994, more than 300 students from this immigrant neighborhood have graduated high school and gone on to college, the first in the families to do so. The first 75 or so have now graduated college and become teachers, nurses, social workers, accountants, architects, television producers, and Think Together's very own executive director in Orange County. The last 6 years, 100% of its high school seniors have gone to college, including 23 in 2012. Think Together's mission is to create opportunities for all kids to discover their passions and reach their full potential. Over the last 4 years, Think Together has again doubled in size and become the largest provider for extended learning time program in California. Think Together is more than a program. It's a place where kids can be more than themselves and have fun. Back to you, Ignacio.
Thank you, Jacob, for that great information and learning more about Think Together. Do you enjoy your elective? Do you find it amazing and joyful? Or do you just think it's horrific? What elective do you think should be added at MLMS? There is a history behind the electives we have today. Here with more information is Zitlali Miranda.
Thank you, Ignacio. Haven't you ever wondered why or why not we have the exploratories we have today? We are here to tell you about what we have researched. We have also interviewed some students and teachers about what we have had at our school, and this is what they have to say.
I started here in 2003, And at that time, there were a lot more elective and exploratory things that someone could do. Our choir teacher did Spanish, and she taught music keyboarding. Our band teacher, Mrs. Kimmel, she taught a music appreciation class, and she taught art. Mr. Beasley, of course, did computers. I did my PSR class. We also had a school newspaper back in the day, and that was another opportunity for students to do something different during the school day.
I'd like to see more myself to get more interest across the board, but with a 6-period day, we're kind of tight in what we're able to offer.
Always use more electives. It'd be great to see you guys have a variety of choices and be able to pursue your interests.
It'd be fun if we had more electives, and I think it would give students more opportunity on what they could do.
I think we should have more electives because people have different interests and we might not have them here at our school, but people might get more interested in their classes by actually having an elective they want, as for sports or taking a different language.
But I'd like to see if we had the possibility of offering more art, photography, ceramics, and also engineering electives. In fact, I was on the phone this morning talking to an administrator in another district about offering a couple of engineering electives for our students here at Mira Loma.
Yes, I do think we should have more electives here at Mira Loma Middle School because most of the electives here at school aren't really known as much to other students.
So now that we have heard some opinions and some facts about Mira Loma Middle School's history of electives of now and then, we know why or why not they took out our electives. Back to you.
Thank you, Zilali, for informing us why we don't have more electives at Mira Loma Middle. The games and activities available during lunch don't seem to appeal to the girls. They could play basketball, but it's rare to see them join. To talk more about girls and activities they like during lunch is Frida Ruiz.
Lunchtime is the students' most favorite time of the day. After the students are done eating, they can pick between playing basketball and soccer.
Well, there's only like 2 sports, soccer and basketball, and like I'm not really good with my feet, so it's basketball.
Basketball.
Play basketball.
Basketball.
I'm hoping that our boys are gentlemen and trying to be inclusive, inviting people to come in and play, that the girls don't feel like, you know, like they're being excluded, like, oh, you're not good enough to play. I hope that doesn't happen. But I like to see, and I try to get out there and encourage, like if I see girls just hanging out, I say, go play. And there's been times where I would join them on a team so they felt like it was a little more equal, you know, that if I played with a bunch of girls against a group of boys.
I don't think it's fair that boys play and girls don't, because like if girls play basketball, they don't let the girls like get the ball, and if we play soccer, they don't pass the ball to the girls.
I don't play any sports because what they have, I really don't like them. So.
Either way, it isn't fair because whether girls choose to play basketball or soccer, they still will hardly ever get the ball.
I think if the girls would want to play, that they should like go out there and try, because I do see the boys passing the ball to the girls.
Some can say that they love playing, and others can say how they wish they had more options. We interviewed some girls on the sports they would like to play during lunch.
Softball and volleyball, because a lot of girls like to play that because the guys don't really let us get into their games.
Volleyball and tetherball.
Volleyball and softball, because we actually get to participate in them, and it's not that the boys take over the whole game and don't allow us to do anything.
We're open to suggestions, so I'm not sure what other, you know, we're kind of limited in what with supervision and with space, but if there's other ideas that people have, we'd be open to it. Try to encourage them to go play basketball, and I see more and more that some are, you know, just last week I saw some girls on the basketball courts. Soccer, they were out for a little bit, and now I see that I don't see as much like last week, see as many girls out there, so hopefully, you know, they'll want to when it gets warmer and they want to enjoy the fresh air and get out there and play.
In conclusion, not a lot of girls play during lunch, either because they are scared or don't feel welcomed. Back to you, Ignacio.
Thank you, Frida. I hope that it makes more games and activities for girls during their lunch. Field trips. How many have you been on this year? There is a lot of preparation that happens before anyone goes on a field trip. Here is Darren Warhop with more information.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Darren Warhop. Field trips are fun for us students, but do you know how much time, money, and work goes into field trips? The staff takes so much of their time to make us students happy with field trips. I heard that for planning a field trip, you have to determine the educational purpose of the field trip. Then you have to know how much buses cost and how much admission is. Now let's hear more from staff.
It depends on the size of the field trip. What you have to do first is fill out bus forms, whether it's a routine, which would mean that it's local, it's under 90 miles, and if it's a non-routine and 90 miles and over, it has to go to the board for approval, which can take up to 2 to 3 weeks depending on when the next board meeting is. So a field trip can be put together anywhere between 2 weeks and usually a month.
Usually it's about a month to a month and a half. Once the club, the ASB club approves the field trip, then it's returned to the club advisor for them to process. Usually about a month and a half.
Field trips together in science, so all of 8th grade goes to the same place. We do an ocean field trip to Crystal Cove State Park, and all of 7th grade goes there too, and they're hiking up a canyon. They're doing a really exciting new field trip.
Each club on campus, for example, AVID, ASB, have fundraisers, and they raise money for any field trips that are planned throughout the school year.
We have a grant with Crystal Cove Alliance. They're a really cool environmental organization that is affiliated with Crystal Cove State Park in Orange County. So they sponsor us. So it's $500 per class to go out on the ocean on the Crystal Cove cruises. So they pay for that. It's $600 per bus per class.
Each club does fundraising, maybe a candy sale, and all that goes through the ASB club, and that's where your funds come from, or students.
That's 6 classes, so they pay for all of that. They pay for our subs, which is like $150 a teacher times 6 teachers. So sometimes we bring another teacher on the cruise. So they usually give us about $7,000 a year, and they're really wonderful people.
Okay, the regular district buses are available only on Monday, Tuesday, Thursdays, and Friday. And if you are traveling and you leave the school no earlier than 9 o'clock and return by no later than 1:30, they cost $20 an hour and $1 per mile. When you go outside of those hours, you have to use what's called a charter bus. Charter buses are for 5 hours. You pay $339.97, and if you go past 5 hours, it's an additional $55 per hour after that.
The science classes, that's a core class, like everyone has to take science. So I know about the science field trips. I know AVID I probably know about that. They're going to Experience College and take students to different colleges so that they can think about a goal in their mind and know what colleges are in our area. So
My portion of the field trip is make sure that each advisor receives the payment for each of the venues or amusement parks that they're attending to. So my responsibility is make sure that club advisor has a payment for the venue or the amusement park they're attending.
My help with the field trips is strictly getting approval for everybody, getting buses, making sure that the classes that need teachers for substitutes, and that would be it.
let's see, on the boat field trip, I am usually in charge of the plankton station, helping the students pull in the plankton net and not fall overboard, and studying the plankton in the microscope and learning about the kelp forest beforehand. So we have kelp forest lessons that we do.
Now that we know what the staff does, we need to know what the students' parents do to help out. Usually parents need to pay a small or large amount of money for their child to go on the field trip. The money depends on where the child is going. Now let's hear more from students.
I went to Knott's Berry Farm and it cost $40.
I went to Cal State Fullerton and it cost about $20.
I went to Knott's and it cost only $40.
I went whale watching and it cost about $20.
I went to the Avid camping trip and that cost about $200 something. It was around that estimate.
It's quite fun learning things you never knew about. In this case, field trips and how they are put together. There's a bunch of stuff I didn't know about field trips, and probably you didn't know about either. I hope you enjoyed this Keepin' It Real segment, and you learned something new from it. Back to you, Ignacio.
Thank you, Darren. The teachers and office staff really do a lot to provide field trips for us. A rule here at Mira Loma that is controversial every year relates to dress code. With more information about the background of this rule, here is Chelsea Orihuela.
Dress code can lead to many situations. The main situation is that most of the boys are attracted to the girls based on how much skin they show. But some of the girls dress in an appropriate manner just to get more attention from the boys, which is why we have the dress code we have now. Here are some teachers that share their opinion on our school dress code.
Dress code, wow. Sometimes that's quite a headache for me, but there is a reason why we have the dress code, and actually there's several reasons. Number one, we want students to be modest, and modesty means we don't want females exposing themselves or wearing short shorts, and the reason that we have that is because we don't want that to be a distraction to other people.
Sure, the way you look tells the world a lot about you. Whether you choose to dress in a certain fashion or expose a lot of your body or cover up a lot of your body, that's the impression that you make on the world, and it says a lot about you.
Do you think dress code affects students' personalities? Absolutely, without a doubt. Without a doubt. We had some girls dressing like little hoochie mamas, and we had some boys that were sagging, and I saw more of them than I wanted to.
In 1997 to 1999, Mira Loma Middle School had to wear school uniforms. But then they initiated that we could wear what we want, but there would be dress code on certain clothing items. Here are some teachers that share their opinion on our school dress code.
It reduces peer pressure from students having to wear the most expensive clothes, so it saves your parents lots of money. Bullying and violence was cut down, so kids were not being picked on, which is unfortunate when students do get picked on. The kids who don't have as much money. The lower socioeconomic kids were equal with the kids who had lots of money, so there was no judgment on those kids back in those days. People focused more on studying. They didn't focus on what someone was wearing and this and that. They didn't walk around and talk bad about people. They were more in tune to what the class was all about.
In addition, part of our goal here is to prepare you for life, for a job. And I don't know any places that don't have some kind of a dress code. That's just the way that it is. Get your pay. So it's once you leave here, you're still going to find a dress code almost anywhere you go.
Would you want uniforms back at MLMS? I don't know. I'm not exactly sure. I'm still kind of torn about that. There's a yes and no. And let me go on to the next question. Were there any complaints about the school uniforms? Yes, absolutely, without a doubt. There were tons of complaints, both by students and parents. Though there were a few that actually preferred it because it meant less money that they actually spend on clothes.
Oh, the students hated having to wear uniforms. The purpose of them was to deal with all the problems that came along with trying to enforce a dress code. And students, you guys are young, you want to do your own thing. And eventually what happened was enough people were able to get waivers from dress code that it just became useless to have it anymore.
The administration looked at school uniforms as a way to prevent gangs from forming on campus. It established discipline. Also, like today, it helps us keep intruders off campus. We know who belongs at school and who's not from our school because of the way they're dressed. Attendance improved, so kids would most likely come to school. They already knew what they were going to wear, so they weren't late to school trying to find something. We didn't have any clothes with inside the clothes. There was no visible undergarments, no strapless garments like you were asking me, no midriffs, no bicycle shorts, no swimsuits, no pajamas as underwear. Discussing things that should not be in the school. Professors from Youngstown State University said that because of school uniforms, attendance and graduation and suspension rates were more favorable. So less students were being suspended, kids were more likely to graduate from high school, and performance was all better with school uniforms. So see, kids, it's not that such a bad thing. School uniforms are actually a good thing.
The last one, what were the consequences when students didn't wear their uniforms? They would usually get either a lunch detention, an after-school detention, and then if it accumulated over time, then it would be a Saturday school.
Remember to always follow our school dress code. Back to you, Ignacio.
Thank you, Chelsea, for explaining most of the rules of dress code and the consequences. As this year comes to a close, everyone in video production would like to thank you for watching. That's it for this edition of Keeping It Real. Goodbye.